Well, welcome to Medusa Kitchen. We're doing our first live stream. We're going to do this every week. Today I'm doing a variety of Alfredos, the most popular one, so we're just going to get to it. I'm going to cut some asparagus up here because I'm going to do a regular Alfredo and an asparagus Alfredo, and maybe we'll use that asparagus down the road. Alright, so we've got two pans here, and we're going to get our fettuccine noodles. What I've done is, it takes 10 minutes to cook these fettuccine noodles. I cooked them at 9. I shocked them with cold water and then tossed them with just a touch of oil to keep them from sticking. Use about 8 ounces of noodles, maybe 7. For the asparagus Alfredo, we like to use raw asparagus because asparagus fresh is the best. You know, if you're going to use broccoli, then I would pre-cook that ahead of time, 8 minutes. You pour in heavy cream just under the surface of the pasta. We're looking at about 8 to 9 ounces. And we get that started on high. Give both of these just a touch of salt. And a little black pepper. And we bring those up to a simmer. We've got a really hot stove, so that's going to work out nice. I've got my bleach towel and my buckets over here. I work with bleach towels. I've got my cutting board stacked up for the order that I'm going to do this. So Alfredo is really easy to make. I was taught in chef school in New York by a chef who was from Sicily, and was one of those extra credit learning lessons, and he told me to run and get the ingredients, and he showed me how to make it, and I was fascinated by it, so this is the way I've been making it for the last 40 years. Part of this live stream thing is going to be recipes that I've been cooking over the last 40 years, and I just want to share my techniques and my tips and let you all figure out that cooking is really not that difficult, and cooking for your family is very enjoyable and satisfying. Now we just want to make sure we mix this pasta around every little once in a while. You can add garlic to the shallots. There's some Alfredos that I do that with, which we'll be doing a few of those after these two basic ones. But this one right here is basic Alfredo. If you got your items prepped and ready to go, it should take you less than 5 minutes to make dinner. It's considered an a la minute dish, and so simple to make. It's usually one of the first recipes I teach anybody who works for me. Now, this is getting to the point where we're going to see some heat. This asparagus is cooking up nice. And to this, we're going to add 1 cup of cheese, which is approximately 3 ounces of Parmesan Reggiano. We only use the egg yolk. Let the eggshell cut that white out of there. As you can see, I crack the egg and I let that white, that way you keep your hands clean relatively. And now you're ready to go when this pasta's ready to go. This is something that I pre-do when I know that I'm close to being done. You know, we've got a good, vigorous boil going there now. We shake with our left, and we mix with our right.
I think we get to turn the lid down a little bit.
Sorry?
I think you're good to turn the lid down a little bit.
The oven down a little bit?
The fan.
I can't. We'll get smoky in here, Zach. Do I need to talk a little bit louder?
A little bit louder.
All right. Well, as you can see now, this egg is starting to thicken up this pasta. You know, we don't want this to be like cement. And you have to remember that this Alfredo is going to thicken up as it sits in the bowl. And I'm just going to add a touch more cheese. You know, you can always add a little bit more. You can't take it out. Just to give us the thickness that we want. On the restaurant, we would pull that off to the side and let that sit for a minute just to relax, come together. Now earlier, I make marinated Greek chicken, and I marinate it in lemon juice and herbs and garlic and oil and a little bit of Dijon mustard. And I use this chicken, I pan-seared it in my pan here. Nice, moist. I use only fresh chicken breasts. All right, Zach, let's plate a little bit. You know, you can either do it on a bowl or a plate. You get all the pasta out. A little black pepper. We've got our chicken breast. Slice that thin. We time that chicken to come out the same time that the Alfredo would. So this chicken takes about 20 minutes. So we started our Alfredo in the last 5 minutes of that cooking. And we pour a little bit of the Alfredo sauce over the top. And as you can see, that's a nice velvety texture. And we hit it with some herbs. And that's our regular and we've got our asparagus Alfredo. As you can see, that asparagus is perfectly cooked. And you can see how nice and velvety that sauce is. And as it sits, it's going to continue to thicken up slightly. And that's what's nice about this Alfredo. It still has some juiciness to it, but it still has some really good viscosity. We hit that with black pepper as well. And those are, you saw how quick that went. Those are really simple, easy Alfredos to do. Now back at this end, I'm going to wipe my cutting board off with a bleached towel. And I'm going to prepare my chicken. I got fresh, never frozen chicken here. And we like to get that pounded down a little bit so we can cook a little quicker. We want this dish to be an a la minute dish as well. Season with a little salt and pepper. And we cut each breast into 6 pieces. Thank you, Zach, for grabbing my tongs. Now, before I start flouring my chicken, I'm going to get myself a non-stick saute pan, because it's the largest one I have. We'll get that heat on. We'll throw a chunk of unsalted butter in there, and while that's getting ready to go, we'll get our chicken finished. Now I have seasoned flour here. I just put a little bit of my house seasoning, and it's important that you get this chicken completely dusted off. You want to dredge it, you want to give it a light coating, but you don't want any burned flour in there. So when you bread these, put them on a plate. Make sure you get them completely floured, but you make sure that they're good and shaken off. Okay. Now, because I was using a yellow cutting board for my chicken, and I'm all done with that, I'll stick this in the sink. I'll get myself a new bleach towel. Get my hands cleaned. And as you can see, our butter is melted. And this is where we put our chicken in these nice flat pieces. Then we cook the two sides of the chicken instead of them being rounded like a chicken breast. And get these all in there. And we want to cook these about halfway, 3/4 of the way. Then we're going to finish it off. We're going to finish it off with some scallops, shallots, garlic. Just a little dry over here, so we'll add a little more butter. And we want this to get a nice little color on it. And now for this, we're going to be using penne pasta, which again, like I said earlier, we cook this 1 minute less than the suggested, just to make sure it's still al dente, because when it's in the cream sauce, it'll finish cooking. Using a smooth ribbed penne, and we're going to make a penne con broccoli with chicken, and we're going to make a chicken Alfredo. So I'm going to get those two out here. Get this out of the way. Looks like we're close on our chicken here, Zach. Some nice color here. I've made this chicken Alfredo thousands of times, and I've always gotten rave reviews on it. You know, that little bit of crust gives you an extra layer of texture. It's a fresh chicken breast that's never been frozen, so it's going to be juicy and tender and delicious. That took what? All of 2 minutes maybe? So in the corner here, not a lot, maybe half a tablespoon of fresh chopped garlic. And a little shallots that I cut up. We're just going to get this mixing around a little bit. And then we're going to add half a cup of white wine. And what that's going to do is going to help this chicken finish cooking, and it's also going to stop those shallots and garlic from burning. Okay, see how quickly that dried up? This chicken is still a little bit, now we're going to add our heavy cream to this. Just enough to cover the chicken about halfway. And we're going to let this simmer until the chicken is finished. And then we're going to add our pasta and our broccoli. Make sure that all gets up to temperature, and then we're going to thicken it with our cheese and our eggs. I mean, it's that simple. That's Alfredo. Right now we've got beautifully seasoned chicken. We're poaching it in the cream with, you know, the white wine we reduced until it was nothing, so the alcohol is gone from that. That little bit of flour is giving us a bit of thickness. You can add whole cloves of garlic, you can add spinach, you could add tomato concasse. From this point on, you can add anything you want. Today I'm going to be adding broccoli. But you can add any vegetable. You really can. Okay, that's feeling close to being done. So now I'm going to add the penne, and I don't want to kill this chicken Alfredo dish with too much pasta. And this is some broccoli that I cooked ahead of time, 8 minutes exactly. It looks like we're just a little bit shy on heavy cream here. You know, cooking is a lot of being able to adjust properly. You know, I don't do these recipes out of a notebook. I've been making them for so long, I just know what I'm looking for as far as the amount of ingredients that I want to see. I think we just need a touch more cream. That's probably going to be a total of about 3 cups. Now this will feed 4 people. If you want to make this just for yourself, you would do 1 breast in one of my smaller pans and cook it the same way, but just a small batch. You see how we have really nice. Yeah, we'll go in with 2 cups of our cheese. And 2 egg yolks. A little pepper. Just a whisper of salt. This is all now boiling nicely. This chicken is completely cooked. We mix from the middle as we shake the pan, and we slowly work our way from the outside in. We want to get that egg yolk immediately emulsified so we don't get scrambled eggs. I don't know. That's looking awful darn good to me, Zach. That's done. Chicken Alfredo con broccoli. Now, 2 ways we can serve this. You know, we have a nice dish here that's very filling, very delicious. We have this other one that we're going to put into a bowl, and for a little added extra treat, we top it with a little bit of fresh mozzarella. And we stick this either under the broiler at home or in our oven. I don't have a broiler, so I'm going to stick it into my hot oven, set it for 5 minutes. And now I'm going to start my seafood Alfredos. This chicken Alfredo is going to Zach. He's all smiles about that. So I'm going to get my fire going on these. Medium high. And we put that in here. Cut our lobster up. We get a little bit of shallots, a little bit of shrimp. Get rid of our white cutting board. Get that lobster, shallots and garlic moving around pretty good. Again, you can add any vegetable you want to this, but we want to get the seafood about halfway. Add a little bit of white wine. A little bit of cream. About 4 ounces, 5 ounces of pasta. Touch of pepper. And we let this cook. Again, on these seafood Alfredos, you can add red pepper. You can add fresh basil, dill, asparagus, broccoli, whatever vegetable you like. But you get the seafood about halfway there, and then you add the cream, the pasta. You already have the butter in there. And we're going to wait for these to get to a good boil again. And I'm going to move some of these out of the way. That shrimp is looking nearly done. The lobster is almost completely there too because we cut it up in small pieces. That's our alarm for the penne broccoli. I lost a little bit of egg yolk there, so I'm gonna give us another one.
Why do you use the egg yolk?
The egg yolk we use the egg yolk to help us thicken the sauce. Lobster Alfredo. You start from the middle, you shake with your left hand. You can see this shrimp Alfredo looking really nice. That's done. So the shrimp Alfredo, we get the pasta in the bowl. Little black pepper, little herbs. And our lobster Alfredo. You see how easy these dishes are. They're very simple to make. Basically, you have your ingredients prepped. And again, you clean up your plates, make them look nice. All right. And our last dish is the Alfredo carbonara. We have our pancetta. We slice it thin. This piece of pancetta is still a little bit frozen. We cut this in fine ribbons. We get that into our pan. Now this is something that you can do ahead of time, which I've done. I cooked the same amount and I pre-cooked it where it's not crispy, but it's not chewy, okay? And it still has the oil in there. Now what we want to do is we want to render that pancetta we keep this moving. We don't want it to burn. Got this high heat. And we want to extract all that fat out of this pancetta. Now, carbonaras can be done with prosciutto or pancetta. I prefer the pancetta. It just has a little bit of a stronger flavor for me. That prosciutto tends to get a little bit dry and tough for me. And for this, we're going to be using spaghetti. Again, we cook the spaghetti 1 minute less than we wanted it. We get that broken up nice. around in the oil so it can absorb it. We want to get that pasta flavored up with that pancetta before we add the cream.
All you did was cook it 1 minute less.
All I did was cook it. It was supposed to cook for 9 minutes. I cooked it for 8. And I got some peas here. And we get that mixed. And we finish this just like we finished our Alfredo. Let that come to a really good boil. You know, we're going to be doing these shows every week. I just want to show you all the food that I've been cooking for 40 years. All the tips and techniques so you can do this at home easily. That is I've always wanted to teach, and I finally found a venue where I can do it. I'm solo, I'm my own businessman, no sponsors. I'm doing this because I really love to teach. I want people to be able to cook good food at home. And I'm going to be doing, you know, some stuff from culinary school and all the restaurants I've worked in and over the last 40 years, and all the food that I cooked for my kids. I've got so much material that I really want to share it. I'm at that point in my life where I really would like to share my art for the next generation. And that's pasta carbonara. You can do it with or without the peas. You can do it with pancetta or prosciutto. Either way, it's going to be delicious. And as you can see, you know, you grab the pasta, and you finish with the sauce. The sauce is great on rice if you're gluten-free. And like all the Alfredos, we finish with black pepper, a little bit of nice green. I don't like to put any extra cheese on it. I like to serve the cheese at the table with a grater like the pepper. But today was Alfredos. I showed you how to make 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 different gelatos or Alfredos. We overcooked our penne con broccoli a little bit. I guess that's for the first run on Instagram, but it still looks pretty darn good.